BBC lands in a massive controversy. Jethmalani raising UK report that links the BBC to the Chinese company Huawei. Big Huawei scandal hits the BBC. The question we are asking, is the BBC then only furthering China's agenda?
नरेंद्र मोदी जी के सबसे करीबी मित्र अडानी के भ्रष्टाचार की चर्चा है, जिसकी वजह से देश के निवेशकों का 4.5 लाख करोड़ रुपए डूब गया।
The budget session commences, but the opposition is at it again, insulting the president, boycotting the address. The finance minister tables the economic survey, the survey projecting a 6 to 6.8% growth for the country. Despite the Hindenburg challenge, the Adani FPO sails through. It's already fully subscribed. And it's a big pre-poll controversy hitting the state of Karnataka. BJP versus the Congress over a tape scandal. A very good evening. The show's called The Burning Question and I'm Deepthi Sachdeva. We begin this edition of the news with a clear spotlight on the biggest story. The story that has shocked the entire country, a story that's full of sensational allegations and a story that tells you, was there an agenda, was there a funding behind the BBC documentary series? Now, the Rajya Sabha MP and senior advocate Mahesh Jethmalani on Tuesday earlier has attacked the BBC. It's accused it of receiving funds from the Chinese state-linked Huawei. This is outside, remember, the UK, quoting the UK magazine, that is The Spectator. Now, if you see his tweet, on the tweet, Mahesh Jethmalani questioned if the BBC was anti-India. Now, he says that the BBC is involved in a cash for propaganda deal. Jethmalani also shared an entire article, and in fact, if you go to his Twitter timeline, you can actually see this article by The Spectator that is related to this controversial broadcaster receiving funds from Huawei for an advertising deal on the BBC website for visitors who are outside the UK. So the question we are asking, who really wanted this anti-India propaganda? Who was funding this? And do you have an ecosystem in the country that has latched on to this propaganda, or they are equal allies? First up, the entire story, and then we debate.
Rajya Sabha MP shared an article from a British magazine, The Spectator, stating how BBC continues taking funding from the Chinese company Huawei. In his tweet, Jethmalani also accused the BBC of being anti-India. He tweeted, "Why is BBC so anti-India? Because it needs money desperately enough to take it from Chinese state-linked Huawei and pursue the latter's agenda. It's a simple cash for propaganda deal. BBC is up for sale." The MP pointed out how BBC played it smart by not releasing the documentary in UK.
Well, I'm saying that the BBC is tainted because the money has come from an extremely tainted source that's very anti-India. And the BBC has a history of anti-India propaganda. They vilified the Indian army. So, they are repeat offenders on this issue.
He points out that there is an internal disgruntlement in the BBC organization.
One of the points of disgruntlement is that here is BBC coming out with a documentary about Chinese state persecution of the Uyghurs, the Uyghur community in China, in Xinjiang province, and they are then taking money from the very oppressors of those oppressed whose cause they claim to be championing. It is just such utter hypocrisy. Not only is it tainted with money, right? It is replete with hypocrisy.
And hits out at the Congress that furthered BBC propaganda in an attempt to target the Prime Minister of India.
establish that you are indeed a party that is loyal to India and come out with that 2008 MOU document which you signed with Xi Jinping in the background. Why is it coming out in 2023? You are ignoring that, right? Because you are anti-Modi, right?
It is clear the BBC has now landed itself in a massive controversy. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
So where was this money really coming from? What was the agenda of the BBC? That, ladies and gentlemen, is a story that has played out big. You've seen the other channels literally catching up with our coverage. Let's say good evening to our panel of guests. I see Savio there on our screens along with Sujata Pandey. Anirban Banerjee is a political analyst, also waiting for Dr. Suman C. Raman. But Anirban, why don't you take the first question? I mean, literally you were citing this documentary series, something that has been funded as a propaganda coming in from the Chinese-based company Huawei. Did you not check all this before, crying horse and creating such a big deal about it?
First of all, if anybody has been crying horse, it is the ecosystem. It is the RSS BJP ecosystem who has actually helped in making this documentary reach the homes of billions, if not millions. Because hardly, I don't know, maybe thousands of people notice documentaries come, documentaries go. But the BJP has become so nervous, they are so rattled that they have created such a huge ruckus all around the country and even outside, even overseas, that now more than millions of billions people know that there is a documentary by the BBC. Whether it is propaganda or whether it is true, that is a completely different question. The government, if it is so confident about itself, its
that does not
stance
matter.
and position,
Fantastic.
it should let everyone
So
watch the documentary.
Fantastic.
No,
Savio, he says whether this is real or propaganda, why should it
position?
matter? I mean, come on. Is that really something, Anirban, that you want to begin this debate on? You're clearly cornered.
If it is propaganda,
you're embarrassed today because you do not know how to defend yourself in the light of this
it?
revelation, Savio.
Absolutely. Why would I be embarrassed?
Arey Baba, watch it. The story is not about watching it. That's the problem.
It is out.
Are you telling me you haven't watched it yet? Then it's your problem, Savio.
Well, Anirban, unfortunately, Dipti, unfortunately, Anirban lacks the knowledge that is required to have a discussion on this issue. It is important, so let me give him some knowledge because it helps in a discussion, which Anirban does not have. What he is going about is a rhetoric, so let me give him some knowledge. BBC has a commercial unit which is known as BBC Story Works. Okay? Now, BBC Story Works was started in 2015. Allow me, get some knowledge. Don't talk like a mad person with no
Anirban, why don't you
knowledge.
listen to what Savio is saying?
Educate yourself.
The next time you come on national television and say that propaganda does not matter as long as this is anti-BJP,
we are investigative
anti-Modi.
journalists. We know what we are talking
People will
about.
show
So
you your
have some
place,
patience to
Anirban.
listen.
Please, listen to Savio. Listen to Savio, please.
Who is
Yes.
going to
BBC
decide
Story
that?
Works was
Who is going to
started in
decide what is
2015.
propaganda and what is not?
Dipti, it's important that ignorant people do not come onto debates
Anirban,
who do not
listen
know
to
have
him.
any knowledge. So BBC Story Works,
He's
BBC
pretending
Story
he doesn't
Works
know,
was formed
Savio.
in 2015.
He's pretending.
Currently in China, it's a commercial unit. It's a commercial unit. A commercial unit that works with 18 organizations in
pretending
China.
anything.
Out of
It
them,
is the
9
BJP
are
who is
state-owned
pretending to be not
organizations.
nervous.
But
And their supporters
of
who are trying to
all
propagate
the
garbage
organizations,
as fact and knowledge and
of all the organizations that are there, that under BBC Story Works is a company called Huawei. The Huawei company is something that Anirban, even in his life, will not have the knowledge to accept. That is how dumb he is.
Savio,
The Huawei company
Savio,
is probably one of the companies in US, UK, India that has been red flagged.
It doesn't
has
matter
been
what you
red
say.
flagged. Why has
Whatever
it
you
been
say
red
will always be
flagged?
garbage.
In
That is not
in an
knowledge.
investigative
There's a
report on the
difference between
US
garbage and
national
knowledge.
security
Not just
issues
not just
posed
the
by Chinese
pronunciation
Telecom
or the
Corporation,
spelling.
Huawei
Fundamentally, two are
has
different.
the
What you are
report
saying is
actually
garbage.
points out to Huawei being a dangerous unit, a dangerous company. The Huawei main founder is a former PLA director. Now I'm sure our communist friend here who's ranting with no knowledge as usual, because most communists don't have any knowledge, do not understand that Huawei, which is an organization that is run by a former director of the PLA.
No, so Savio,
One second,
Savio
Dipti.
seems to be the know-all.
It's run by
Savio
the
is
former PLA
embarrassed.
director.
He's obviously embarrassed, so he's feigning ignorance. He's embarrassed. When you're embarrassed, you feign ignorance. But what are you, Anirban? I'll just give you a minute so you can absorb what Savio has actually told you. Because you know the story, Anirban, is about cash for propaganda.
Is the government
I mean, I don't understand why did the opposition not even think these questions through, Anirban, about the timing, about the source, who's behind the documentary and the funding.
Savio is trying to pass trash.
Anirban and Savio, with your permission, I also want to get in Dr. Sumansi Raman, who I'm told is with us on the broadcast. Sujata also hasn't spoken. But clearly what Savio has said has irked Anirban. Let me see if Dr. Sumansi Raman believes cash for propaganda is absolutely fine. And like Anirban says, Dr. Suman, then what's the big deal? If it is propaganda, it is propaganda. You know, as long as it is anti-Modi, I will latch on to this.
Why are you so nervous?
Anirban,
if it is
your communist
Dr.
brains
Suman.
cannot understand.
Why is the BJP so nervous?
Can I speak, please?
Your communist brains cannot
Anirban,
understand.
relax. Why are you getting so worked up?
TMC.
Which
Anirban, relax. Let the others also have a say, please.
TMC mindset.
Deepthi, can I?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Too many people speak at the same time. Can I please? Hello? Deepthi, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Go on, please.
Okay. Yeah, my point is very simple and it is very clear. My point is that every organization in the world does advertorials. So I don't see doing advertorials as something which is a criminal offense of any kind. This particular case, Huawei has been in existence for many, many years. There have been issues of Huawei being connected with the Chinese military, and therefore many countries have found them to be a security risk. But carrying out an advertisement, their products are not banned in most parts of the world. They are still able to sell their products in many countries. So if BBC did advertorial, I don't see how that is connected with this documentary. And I'm amazed that we are actually doing a debate on something as far-fetched as this. Now, I think we should go and get a complete list of all the Chinese, maybe mobile phone manufacturers and technology companies that Indian channels and Indian print media have done advertisements or done, sponsorship deals with. I mean, the Indian cricket team used to be sponsored by, Vivo and Oppo and so on not too long ago. So what are we talking about? Are we saying that anybody
Dr. Sumansi Raman, I'm also amazed, sir. You're sounding much like Jairam Ramesh. Jairam Ramesh hasn't spoken on these allegations. But Sujata, if he would have been speaking today, he would have sounded like Dr. Sumansi Raman. And because you've asked about the list. You've asked about the list, sir. Allow me just 30 seconds.
Can I give some knowledge?
Just 30 seconds. Just 30 seconds. There is a difference. Then you do not say that this is a documentary series. 1 second. Dr. Sumansi Raman, in the year 2019, the BBC puts out an anti-India propaganda about the alleged violent crackdown in Kashmir. In 2020, they say Kashmir is cut off from the rest of the India map. We've all seen that image. 2021, fast forward, they led this entire negative, atrocious campaign against Covaxin. I'm sure you recall this. Fast forward to 2022, where they put out this documentary series that links Narendra Modi to the 2002 riots.
I'm sorry.
One after the other, Dr. Sumansi Raman, if this is not propaganda, Sujata, what is? And today you have people like Anirban and a gentleman like Dr. Sumansi Raman who are normalizing all this, normalizing propaganda and falling for it. Sujata.
Absolutely. See,
every television channel
one thing, can I speak now? Because I didn't speak in between when he was speaking. Can you please ask him to? So if this spectator
go on,
report, I
please.
wish they would have written, they would have read the spectator report. I wish they would have seen the documentary. I wish they would have at least seen your reporting, and I wish they would have gone through the details of it. Also on the BBC own website, where they have accepted that they have received funds from outside UK, and there's been series of events, not just a few you named, including showing a distorted map of India where Kashmir was cut off from India all totally. So BBC anti-India narrative is very, very old. It's nothing new. Mr. Shravan Srinath should also know that Mrs. Gandhi had also banned BBC. So it's nothing new. But then why this time? Documentary, first saying that this is based on certain, investigative journalism, based on the entire investigative journalism of a man who's himself, his history itself is checkered, Jack Straw, one who's a member of the UK 48 Club, which is known to be, the Sino sympathizer and anti-India. Out in open, he can go to his statements, and where he has claimed that the Pakistan should take over Kashmir and things like that. So it's nothing new. But then now you connect the dots, what are the big characters? What are the big characters in the entire thing? One is BBC, one for the anti-India hate, the narrative or the hate is well known. Another is PLC, the motive behind the destabilizing Indian government at the time India is rising, the economy is stable, where they are fighting with the COVID and they've not been able to handle it the way India has handled, things like that. Its reputation against the Uyghur Muslims, things like that. And then you come to Congress, which is a common connection between the BBC and the PLC. Congress signs a MOU with the PLC, receives the donation 1.35 crores from the Chinese embassy and the government. Mahesh constantly backs up, the Chinese government and questions government of India's stand. Rahul Gandhi, sometimes it is difficult to understand whether he's a Chinese spokesperson or he's an Indian politician. So you connect the dot. Any sane person will be able to get the full picture. But the anti-Modi or the Modi hate has taken people so deep, and it has taken them, gone so much inside that as long as
but Sujata, what is worse is that you're letting this Chinese money, Anirban, dictate the BBC's agenda. Is the BBC up for sale? You give them money, throw money at them, and you ask them to make a documentary, they'll go ahead and you will latch onto it and say, oh God, look at this. This is all anti-Modi, so it suits a narrative. So what if it is a propaganda, Anirban? There is no credibility. That's the problem, Sujata.
First of all, it's the characteristic. Please let me answer now. Yeah, please let me answer. Sujata, please, my name is Anirban, not yours.
Anirban.
Please let me answer. It is the very basic characteristic of the crooked people to hide behind the blanket and shield of nationalism. First of all, this documentary is about Mr. Modi.
You mean like
so it is not about India.
BBC.
It's not about the entire country.
Like the TMC and the BBC.
During the regime of Mr. Modi, the worst riot of independent India took place.
This evening to talk about the Huawei link. Why are you embarrassed today to talk of the fact that the BBC actually took money for an anti-India propaganda?
Mr. Modi for a decade.
That's the elephant in the room. Please come to that. That is the whole story here.
Are you telling me, ma'am, are you telling me that the United States,
no issues
who
with the
blocked
BBC
the
saying,
entry
hey,
of Mr. Modi
listen,
for
we
a
are up for sale,
decade, was also funded by the Huawei?
So the Chinese pump money into the BBC.
Whenever
the BBC
somebody
takes
is
this money,
criticizing
creates a
Mr.
documentary
Modi,
series,
you
so-called
turn them
documentary
anti-India.
series.
So are you telling that then US government was also anti-India?
Full of lies.
If it is full of propaganda,
and the opposition, because they have no other narrative, they have no other agenda, will latch on to this. Anirban,
why is the
people are watching
so
you today, so be very careful on how you respond to that story.
Why is the government so nervous?
Anirban, be very careful of how you respond.
Absolutely, I am
Rahul
very
Gandhi
careful.
had said, do you remember what Rahul Gandhi said?
I believe Mr.
He
Modi
said, Rahul Gandhi said that our soldiers were being beaten by the PLA troops. It is.
Now,
where is it about Modi?
Please?
That's what I'm asking. Why are you embarrassed to talk of the China link? Why are you embarrassed to talk of the Huawei links here?
The name of the documentary is the Modi question.
Have you read this report?
You are telling me the documentary name is the Modi question,
How did
but
this
it is not about
documentary
Mr.
got
Modi.
made?
Is that what
You
you
know,
are
we
telling
are
me?
going back to the source.
It is about the
We are going back
documentary.
to the funding, the motive.
Ask the BBC. Ask the BBC.
Who
Ask the
funded
BBC.
this?
Who is BBC and Huawei before Mr. Modi?
There is a
Mr.
report.
Modi is a
Savio.
superhero.
Savio,
Mr. Modi is a
today,
superhero.
why today
is
is
he afraid of the
Anirban?
BBC?
Why is
That is
Anirban
the simple
today,
question.
you know, acting as a spokesperson today for the BBC?
No,
Because the problem
ask
is
Savio,
deeper,
who
and this
believes
is
garbage to be
extremely
knowledge.
serious.
Why is
You know,
Mr. Modi afraid of BBC?
if we allow the opposition,
Why is the RSS
you know, under
BJP
the
cabal
guard,
so
Savio,
afraid
of
of the
Modi
BJP?
hatred,
Of the BBC?
to use propaganda to
They are
allow,
trying
you know,
to hide
a documentary
behind
series from the
nationalism.
BBC that clearly
They
has
cannot hide
Chinese
the
links
truth
to
that
it,
one of the worst
to come
riots
out in
took
public
place
domain
during
like
the
this,
BBC.
Savio. Very, very serious.
I'd love to give Anirban knowledge, but unfortunately Anirban belongs to the moronic club and I don't discuss knowledge with morons. But Suman made a very important point, so let me throw some light on that point.
Please, I think
yes,
you
there
are
are companies
looking
that
at
take
the mirror.
advertising in media.
Savio, you are looking
While
at the mirror, I think.
important thing,
You belong
the
to
most
that
important
particular
thing is
group.
Huawei's
Anirban and
belong to that
Savio,
particular
gentlemen, I'm
group
requesting
who
both of
believe
you.
garbage to be knowledge.
Is a former,
Let's come back to
is a
facts.
former
Anirban and Savio,
Savio
requesting
lacks
both
the
of you,
basic
please.
decency.
No personal attacks.
He
The
lacks the
founder
basic
of
decency.
It's a very, very
Huawei
serious
is a
story,
does not know how to
Anirban.
participate in a debate.
Anirban, you might not think so, but it's a
He does
damn
not know
serious
how to
story.
participate in a
People
debate.
are angry. People want answers, Anirban. Why has the opposition been using this propaganda coming in from China? Why are the BBC? So please listen to Savio quickly.
Nothing to do but mount personal attacks.
Unfortunately,
Savio has
the
nothing
moronic
but
club
to
does
offer
not
personal
understand that.
attacks.
Huawei's direct founder is a PLA
Anirban,
former director.
Anirban, pull
You
back.
must be
There's no point in
representative of that
launching
moronic
personal
club.
attacks.
Savio,
Attack the
you must
BBC.
be
Ask questions of the
representative
BBC this
club.
evening, please.
Unfortunately, the moronic club guy does not understand it. He belongs to
Arey,
TNC, the
person,
moronic
a
club.
panelist on your
That's his
program
problem.
does not have the decency of how to speak. He lacks the decency of how to speak.
Anirban,
First,
I'm
teach
requesting
Savio
both
some
you and
decency.
Savio to please
He should
pull
go
back.
back to nursery class.
Please pull back.
and
Let's
learn
come
some
back.
decency.
Let's come back to the story at hand.
Against India, I am not
We are
refusing
wasting
to-
time.
Ask
It's
him
such
to
a
have
serious
some
issue,
decency
please.
first.
Precisely, if he
You
allows
should
me to
ask him
speak.
to have some decency
Anirban,
first.
Anirban, this is a request to both you and
Naturally,
Savio,
he
please.
belongs to such a party
He wants to
group.
remain
Please.
Naturally, he belongs to such a party supporter group who do not have the basic decency to be
You know, why are
civilized
you
world.
not outraged? Anirban,
We're not
equally
allowed to
outraged,
engage
please.
part of
And what the
civilization.
BBC has said and what the BBC has done. You should be equally outraged
Panelist
also
on
about
your
that.
program
Please let
lacks
Savio
the
complete his
decency to
point.
speak.
We, yes, we'll get
You
it
are
Sujata
allowing
and
him
Dr.
that.
Suman then.
You are allowing him that.
The point is very simple. Someone made
Anirban,
a
we are
point
wasting
on
time. Savio,
advertising.
quickly complete your point.
Now,
Yes.
advertising, yes.
No, can you
Yeah.
request
He
him
made an
to be at
important
least
part of
decent?
advertising. The
I
problem
know
with
it's very
Huawei,
difficult
he
for
needs
him.
to understand. The problem with Huawei needs to
Anirban,
understand
you know, you're
that the
wasting
director
time
of
because you're
Huawei, the
continuing to
founder,
heckle
was a former
Savio.
PLA director.
Please.
It is Savio who is
That is a
polluting the
problem with a
environment.
moron like him.
He is polluting the
You are a
environment of the
moron.
debate.
I'm telling
I think
you
you
on
should
national
question him.
television. You belong
Okay,
to the
let's have
moronic
Dr.
club.
Suman C. Raman
You
and
don't
Sujata
want
on this.
to know
That
Please,
knowledge.
for a moment,
reflects on
gentlemen,
your
calm down.
family culture.
Calm down,
That
Savio and
reflects on
Anirban.
your
It's a
family
request
culture.
again.
They are working
I
Please,
can
against
call
it's a
you names,
request again,
anybody-
Savio, Anirban. Let's not
But it
waste time. You're
reflects on
deflecting to
your
the real
family
issue. We're running out of
culture.
time.
It reflects
Dr.
on your
Suman,
upbringing.
Dr. Suman,
Does not
Dr. Suman, sir.
Yeah.
Let's get Dr. Sumant and Sujata. Dr. Sumant, you know, we should not have a problem with the BBC taking money from Huawei. We should not have a problem with BBC pursuing Chinese agenda. The BBC continues to take Chinese money, put out any narrative against Narendra Modi. So what if it is false? Is this how journalism is really done? And is this how opposition will latch on to issues?
No, I think it is really clutching at straws when without a shred of evidence, you come up with this link between Huawei and the BBC, and therefore that must be linked to the documentary and so on. I mean, it is. I don't want to use the word insane, but
Okay,
it is
so you don't
fairly
believe this.
insane
Sujata,
because
quickly, I'll give you the last word. Sujata, last word. Dr. Suman says, don't believe this. It's all propaganda. The documentary is not propaganda, but this report is. Sujata, quickly, 10 seconds.
What is the evidence that these two are linked? There is not
like
a
I
shred
said,
of
as
evidence.
long as it is against Modi,
Just picking up
as long
stories
as
from
it is
thin air.
supporting anti-Modi forces, anything by this left liberal Congress supporters, etc., is okay, even if it is backed by our first enemy, the most dangerous one, that is China. I think it is a very dangerous situation. I mean, we must reflect upon the sides that we're taking. It's okay to have differences in the ideology, but at the cost of the national interest, at the cost of the national reputation, especially at the time when we are hosting G20, especially at the time when ours is the only economy which is stable, especially at the time when we have taken over UK as the 5th largest economy in the world, especially at the time when the PPP is growing stably, especially at the time when we have fought COVID much better than the big powers and the wealthiest nations of the world. I think it's time to reflect back ourselves that it is always nation first, nothing else comes later. It's appalling, it's dangerous.
Yes, we've run out of time completely, Savio. We've run out of time. But because Sumansi Raman is asking for proof, I should tell him that there is this entire report that's come out in Spectator. So you must read that. And Mahesh Jethmalani, who's a noted lawyer, sir, he's saying this is just the teaser. You wait and watch. There will be evidence in public domain. Completely out of time, Sujata Pandey and all gentlemen, thank you so much. Arnab is bringing up this big debate back at 9. And as always, our viewers, you can drop in your feedback, your thoughts. Also on republicworld.com. We are quickly heading into a break. On the other side, back with the next edition of The Burning Question.